And we are live. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Mind Meld PR vlog and podcast if you're listening to the audio. I'm your host, Jonathon Narvey, the founder of Mind Meld PR. And apparently I'm stumbling over my words, so this could be a fun episode. Um, so today I have a really fun guest. At least I think he's going to be fun. This is
I hope
actually
so.
this is the first time we're talking. I'm going to be talking with a sort of marketing specialist. His name is Benjamin Jackson, and his work has been on my radar for some time now. He is heading up the marketing for the Penthouse Night Club in Vancouver, and the type of marketing that he is particularly known for is the words that go on the billboard of the Penthouse Night Club. And so, for those who aren't in Vancouver, may have no idea what the Penthouse nightclub is. This is a nightclub where ladies get up on stage and take off their clothes, and it's that kind of fun place to be. So um, I this conversation has sort of been a long time coming in that I've been wanting to reach out to Benjamin for some time and then just kept putting it off, putting it off. Finally, I decided to get off my butt. Let's just get this done. And I reached out to the Penthouse, and I'm asking, who is the creative genius who puts together your billboard? Um, and then I realized apparently I've been scooped. The CBC, biggest media outlet in the country, has gotten in touch with you, and so we can talk a little bit about that. But maybe Benjamin Jackson, if you could, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, like you said, my name's Benjamin Jackson. I've lived in Vancouver for about 7 years. I was hired at the Penthouse in 2016 as a bartender.
Mhm.
They had no social media active at the time. As you mentioned, the marquee has been there. It's been there for, I think, 73 years. The club's been down there. So when I started, the signs were very generic. Open till late, book your stag now, things like that. And I just knew I had funny ideas, like just stuff that would be better than that. And I just basically started asking management if I could start putting some ideas up. So as a bartender, I would come in to start my shift. I would come in maybe half an hour early, change the sign, go about my night as a bartender. And the first one we put up had a really good reaction to it. I guess it went viral for those terms, and it kind of had a free range to do the marquee after that, and it kind of snowballed into doing their social media. Like I said, it wasn't active, so I started Twitter and an Instagram, and after that, basically started doing their original content for posters and advertisements online to post. So it kind of took over as the whole marketing under that umbrella as a bartender, really.
Right, right. I should probably introduce, before we get into these examples of just phenomenal short form creative messaging, sort of a bit of a, I don't know, disclosure. So my own relationship with the Penthouse goes back many, many, many years. I haven't been in a while, but I'm married, so it is what it is. Although, I'm sure, probably the majority of the folks who go in are probably married or have been
Well,
married. So.
yeah, we lose a lot of clientele to marriage, and we gain a lot of clientele through marriage. So,
But back in my youth, when I first came to Vancouver as a young man who knew nobody in the city, and had a little more time on his hands than probably was healthy. I would go into the Penthouse on occasion, and I guess at the time, well, I've always had a bit of a nerdy look to me, so maybe I look I don't know, harmless, responsible, and so not once but twice I was selected the judge at
Yes.
amateur night, and which is, great job. You get paid in beer, and
Absolutely.
so you're filling out scores for the ladies on stage, who
We
dan-
still do that. We still do that.
yeah. And you know it I can't say I went through a rigorous training program prior to being a judge. My sort of my rule was I wouldn't give anyone less of a score than a 9.6. I felt, these ladies are giving their heart, and
Yeah, it's smart.
yeah. And the truth is they were all fantastic. So that's sort of my connection. So when I wander by the Penthouse, which is not uncommon because it's a few blocks away from where I live, and so if I'm wandering anywhere downtown, I'm likely as not to wander by. I will see your billboard, and so I'm constantly reminded of
Good
just
times.
your genius is literally on display. Okay,
Thank you.
so let's get to the one that first caught my attention, to the point that I think this was about 4 years ago,
Okay.
and that it first caught my attention to the point that I was trying to think back. Has the Penthouse billboard always been this funny? And apparently that was your first billboard. Was the let me find the exact phrasing. Um, I believe it was rare Pokemon inside.
Yeah, that was the first one. You're correct.
And
Um, Sorry.
oh, well, maybe you could provide. Well, what was the context? Because one of the things that I love about short messaging that gets a reaction is it's often trending and trendy. It's timely. What was timely about that particular message?
Everything with that one. It was the way it worked was that the Pokemon Go app was getting released, but they were doing it in America first. So like everything, it gets the media in America, and we knew it was coming here in Canada. So we literally had people downloading the app and just waiting. So we had a week of watching it in America, and it was just the story of the week. And people were, I remember seeing the first video. It was on one of the news channels, and people just walking with their heads down trying to find these things, and it was all in the streets of America. So we knew it was coming here, and everybody was excited for it. And like every good joke, most good jokes, the timing is everything. So I remember talking to my manager saying, hey, like we had the idea and we're like, we have to get this up, like it would be smart. And he initially said no at first. Just they didn't want to. It just, I don't, to be honest, I don't know. so with some convincing, we put it up. And I remember standing on the ladder the first time and putting it up, and we were just trying to get the spacing for it, the proper thing. And people were on, like it was on Seymour Street, obviously, and people were stopping at the light and instantly taking pictures. As I was coming down the ladder, the same thing. And I didn't work that night, but we had a phone call that night saying there's people outside, including young people, kids with their parents, asking if they could pay the bouncer if their child could go in and find this Pokemon. This Pokemon didn't exist, by the way. Like it was just, it was a funny marquee, and it got so out of hand within that week that it was everywhere. I went to TELUS at the time to get a phone case for my phone, and the lady that was helping me, they had phone chargers in a basket, and they had a sign on it that said something to do with like your phone's going to die because of Pokemon Go or something, right? And I was like, oh, and I mentioned to her, and I was like, I did that sign, and she was like, no, you didn't. I was like, I swear. And she was like, that went viral, and I was like, yeah, it did. And like I said, it probably for a month, it was just reposted everywhere. People lined up, constantly taking photos of it, and it really started things. After that, my manager that initially said no to the idea was like, you can take it from here if you want. So yeah, it was, the first one was a hit, and I think it really helped with the longevity of it all.
That's right. Nothing succeeds like success, and so if you
Yeah.
can get that early win, you've got the credibility. So a few others that sort of popped up on my radar. Some of these are let's see. There it is. So obviously COVID and vaccines are on the brain. And so there's one that you came out with. I think this was more recent. Pfizer now makes my two favorite things.
Yeah, that was when I was out and I had the notification on my phone, just the regular news notifications when the Pfizer news was when they actually first put their hat in the ring for a vaccine. So it was kind of right there, and I had to double check, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they make Viagra, and I knew it was there, but it was almost too good to be true. And then to see if it would all fit on the marquee, and as I was googling it, I was walking while I was doing it, and it just came together. I confirmed that they made Viagra, and I was like, you don't even have to say the word Viagra at this point, like just the Pfizer, it should speak for itself. And the same thing, I live on Seymour Street, blocks away from the club. So I have the advantage now to, if something is current, I can literally be at Penthouse in 10 minutes tops. So yeah, that one, like I said, it felt too good to be true. And as it was all coming together, it worked out perfect, really. That one had a lot of good response as well.
Terrific. The next one is maybe I'll provide a little bit of context, for listeners from America. And I know weed is legal in some states in the U.S., not federally. But here in Canada, our progressive prime minister has gone full in. So we've got weed stores everywhere. But it's still a relatively new thing. And so, if I'm not mistaken, you came up with this this one right on probably on the day of legalization, or yeah. We stand on guard for weed. I mean, it's perfect. But yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about how you sort of your thinking.
Yeah. So I didn't initially think my boss would let me touch on that. When we first started doing it, the GM I was talking about before, he asked me for 2 rules: not to stay away from religion and politics. So I said, yeah, I thought that would be easy. And this was before Donald Trump had run for election. This was before marijuana was legal and a lot of stuff that changed in politics. So I kind of, when that one came about, I kind of had the joke of something to do with like Justin Bieber, healthcare, weed, like kind of like we have it all kind of a thing, or like, you know what I mean? Just using something to that effect. I was limited with the lines that we had. So everybody knew the day was coming, obviously. And my boss, the owner, Danny Filipponi, called me the night before it was actually being legalized and said like something to the effect like, do you got one ready? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, this is huge. Like I was like, oh, I didn't think you would let me. Like, I didn't think, if it would be a thing. And he was like, I think you were foolish not to. So right away, then I was like, okay. And then I had the green light, and I realistically wanted it up that next day. So I just started running through things Canada, and just anything I could in the national anthem. And then, it just, a process of literally, I have a list in my phone, and the brainstorming is I'll just, like I said, healthcare, Justin Bieber, well, I didn't just keep writing stuff down, national anthem. And eventually once it clicks, it hits me like a brick wall. And then right away, I just try to see if it'll fit. And that's my biggest issue is the getting it on there. And
right.
As soon as I told him, he was like, meet me down there right now. So we changed it. So like I like to say, Seymour is technically a highway in the morning. Like by law, you can't park. So I like to say that if you get that morning traffic of people going to work, it'll, if you can get somebody laughing on the way to work, it makes me feel a bit better.
You alluded to the limitation a moment ago, so I don't know if we covered this right at the start. Was in contrast to Twitter, which is a really short medium. Well, it used to be 140 characters. Now I think it's 220 or
something like that. Yeah, they upped it for sure.
You've got 40 characters to work with.
Yeah.
So wow. Anyway, so that was terrific. There's oh, you know what? I hadn't noticed this one. I'm looking at the marquee boys Instagram is where you're collecting these. Our lineup is all fire emojis.
Yeah. Well, that one came about. When it started to get some traction just around the city, my boss liked to call it like water cooler talk, and he was like, he would get a lot of people messaging him, his friends, people on their way to work, and between our staff and myself and the owners and stuff, a lot of people would send us the marquees, the new ones. So I asked him if there was any way we could get new symbols like punctuation, hashtags, any question marks. Like I was just like, if we're gonna do it, can we do it? Can we do it right? So he was like, yeah. So he's like, you can get some custom ones. And what I chose to get was like the Instagram symbol, the Twitter symbol, greater than, a couple stuff, like stuff that he just didn't have in his library, I guess. So once I did it, I was like, you know what? I should have got emojis, and I didn't really think about it. So I was like, asked him again, like, can we get some, can I do another order? And he was kind of like, no, like these, let's see, do what you got with these. And then it, I just did without, I guess, but it worked out, I think, better just to actually write it. I was going to change it to actually our lineup is, and then just write like chef's kiss, like the, and stuff like that. So it was between that and fire emojis. And I thought fire emojis would probably hit better with our crowd.
Yeah, I think harsh limitations, really firm rules are actually quite good for creativity. It's sort of like, deadlines will sort of pressure things to come up a little bit quicker, but also, if you've got your character limit or even the type of character you can use, these are it's kind of like when you look at poetry, and poetry that's just free form prose, not typically so memorable, versus a rhyming poem that sticks to sort of the classic rules. That stands out because it takes some effort, some skill to stay within those rules.
Yes, it's so many times I've had something comes up in the media, just something that's trending, and I can almost tell right away in my head that it's going to work or not, because eventually if you strip down a joke too far, it's lost everything. So the best ones are the ones, I guess they say, like, there's no fat on this joke, it just fits perfectly, and like I said, I've had to pass up on stuff, or some people be like, oh, like, and like, just for like an example, they're like, oh, like extravagant something. I'm like, I already know in my head that's too many letters to keep going, So yeah, a lot of times I've had to pass up on stuff, or like I hate using, like, for like the word four, putting the number four in. It hurts me to do it, but sometimes I'm just like, the joke's too good, I'll go with it. But if I had more room, I think I would be able to really, go at it. But like,
by the way, I have the same pet peeve about using numbers where I can write them out. Although actually for the sort of distant marketing skill of writing for the web, it's actually a best practice to throw in the numbers. They stand out more. Like
yeah,
the actual numbers.
it's I know what you mean. It was, I feel like we get a lot of praise too, because I ordered a lot of punctuation, like commas and things like that, and a lot of comments on the line are like, thank you for using the proper punctuation. Like, people truly appreciate it. But in my head, I'm like, that's a character for me, like that's, so even I have to incorporate that in spacing and stuff. But like you said, the challenge there, it's like a deadline too. It's like you have to, and sometimes that keeps me going. Like I know it's there, and I know I just have to word it and figure it out. And yeah, it's part of the fun, I guess, sometimes.
I have the feeling that the Penthouse Night Club is, you're unique in what you're doing. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, it's not like I'm constantly driving by strip clubs or walking by them, and where I would have a basis for comparison. But I'm not aware of a nightclub, whether it's just a regular nightclub or the Penthouse, that uses its billboard as effectively as you do. I feel like it's a lost opportunity. Like, why aren't more establishments doing this?
I have somewhat of an answer. Like, we have a really good, there's another strip club in Vancouver, the Number 5 Orange. We have a really good relationship with them. The owners are friends. We share a lot of staff. I'm really good friends with their bar manager. Like, it's just a really good, we have our Christmas parties there. It's good. It's a good time. So they have their marquee on both sides, and they would just advertise like UFC events and stuff like that. So once ours, like we did too, like we didn't really have anything until I started to do it. But once ours started to do it, we were like, kind of like, oh, and and now they were kind of like, well, you've already done it. So like, they didn't, they're like, we would have to kind of keep up. So then I actually started telling my friend that works there, like, I have marquee ideas for you. Like, they have a shower inside the number 5 orange. We don't have one. And I was like, you should write like, yes, we have a shower. No, you can't use it. I'm like, that would be funny on a marquee. And he was like, yeah, it's good. He's like, it's great, but the next one, like we can't, we just can't keep doing it. So I can speak on that for them, but as for the other marquees, yeah, I don't know if the other two have one off the top of my head, but yeah, it's free advertising for the most part. It's it's just there. It's foolish not to use.
Totally. So, and that's where, marketing, whatever kind of marketing you're doing, or public relations, like this is the important thing is what's your differentiator? How are you standing out? What are you doing differently? So I love this topic. The last thing I wanted to touch on is something, I don't know if you're a fan of the comedian Norm Macdonald. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, he's one of the quickest, wittiest people on the planet. Like,
well, this is the thing is he's clearly, if you listen to him for a few spots, you'll understand two things about him. Number one, he's incredibly smart. Number two,
oh yeah,
he does not show, or he doesn't try to help the audience understand that he's incredibly smart because he wants to come off as a clown, as a fool.
100%.
And so he's talked about before about how a lot of comedians actually, I mean, they love it when people laugh, but they kind of, a lot of them don't want to just be the clown. They want to be respected. They want to be the smart guy. And so you see this a lot on, say, late night TV now. And in the last 5 years, I've watched this evolution from laughter to clapter, where you see comedians going after the yes, the agreement, versus just gut, a laugh that comes from the gut because you can't control it because it's just funny. And so Norm's whole thing, it seems to be, you don't need to try to be so smart all the time. Inject the fun, inject the funny, inject the silly, and that is going to be super effective. So it's not always about being the wittiest guy in the room. There's a couple of good examples that I was looking at. I have it right in front of me. There we go. You know how so I can't, I don't know how to, I'm too technically challenged to figure out how to show the image, but I'll describe it. So in a calculator, if you wanted to write boobies, you would use eights and backwards, maybe a 3 and a 5, and so this is what you've done, written I think it's all numbers, some of which are backwards. Boobies at the Penthouse 604. Like, it's so funny, but so dumb and just like obvious. It's so good. And then the next one, I mean, there's so many of these funny ones, but I think tied for that, or maybe this one has the edge. Your wife called. She said it's cool.
Yeah.
I love this. It's great. So I don't know if you had some thoughts about being, injecting the fun, the funny, the ridiculous, the absurd.
Yes, I think I have an advantage because it is a strip club. So for instance, with the boobies one, we had Daily Hive coming to do an interview about the marquee, and I had something up, and my boss was like, "You put something new up," and I was literally like, they were coming within a half an hour, and I was outside like staring at it, and I was like, I don't know if my brain just went back as far as it could to those old calculator funny things. Like I was just reaching for something, but it honestly just hit me, and I just laughed to myself. I'm like, I can't believe that just came to me now, like right here, in this situation. But my boss, like him and I talk about it, where he says, like, we're not selling sneakers, we're not selling, food, we're selling, like it's a taboo thing. So it's already, you're already kind of with the smirk on your face, you're already kind of giggling a little bit. So we just have such a huge, we can poke fun at ourselves. We can poke fun at, like I said, like the husband and wife, the marriage thing. Like I put up a lost and found wedding ring, book your divorce party now. Like there's 100 just on marriage that are funny just because it's related. Or like, you know, how people say like, I sent this to my wife, like a photo just to get like a laugh kind of a thing, or vice versa. The wife sends it to her husband and stuff. But I think I have a different market compared to a lot of other industries where it's already got people kind of like, you know, just feeling a little like giggling already kind of a thing. So when I can poke fun at our industry, it almost seems endless, to be honest. Yeah, sorry, my phone fell.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
This interview has really gone sideways.
Yes, literally. Oh my God.
All right, so we were just about coming to a close. We were talking about how to keep things fun, funny, and as you put it, on message. Like, what is the product we're actually selling? Let's not get too fancy. I feel like a lot of TV commercials will dance around this. I feel like 80% of TV commercials, I'll watch it and I'll not be fully paying attention, but or even if I am paying complete attention, I won't know what they're actually selling because they've gotten too cute, too fancy, too complicated.
Absolutely.
So this is actually the worst examples of this. I feel like come out for the Super Bowl commercials, which are like the highest cost commercials around, and it's like, what was the product?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now, yeah, they pump it with celebrities and everything. It's just they get so far away from, like you said, the product that you're not even paying attention to the product. You're more or less paying attention to everything else, but you know what I mean?
Totally.
Especially 100% with the Super Bowl. You could literally replace the product with anything. It'll still be this, you know, the same hoopla all around it. And yeah, it's very, I know exactly what you mean, 100%. But like you said before, like our industry, it's one of the oldest sayings, like sex sells, and it truly does. And I'm already have that on my side. So to poke fun out of it is to me, it comes naturally almost.
This is terrific. It's been really interesting to me to hear about the process of, you know, what is the thing that was timely, what was the internal discussion, how did you come up with this? It's, you know, creativity, as I've written about in the past, and I'm not the first to note this. I'm sort of stealing other people's observations. It's often about, you know, you do your research, you think deeply about what you've learned about it, and then you just sort of let it go for a little bit. Give it a little bit of time. Go for a walk. Go have a coffee. Take a shower. It'll come to you, and that's my process.
Yeah, it's very similar. I'll have I have a list in my phone that just has one-liners, jokes, like they're not even attached to anything. So I'll have, and this list has been going on for 5 years, so it's very lengthy. But I'll just, even funny words or something, I'll just write it down. So when something does pop up in the news or something starts trending, I can kind of reference this list and maybe it'll fit on top. You know what I mean? Maybe something will come together, and I'll literally like just scroll and I'm just trying to match something up, or they just write themselves and you don't have to add anything to it. Like. But for the most part, it's I like to, especially when I was working, like when we were bartending, I would like to have nights where I could sit and not have any distractions, and like best case scenario, try to come up with 3 or 4 ideas so I don't have to think about it, for the, the rest of the month or something like that. Or one will hit me for a Christmas one in June where you're like, okay, so I'll write it down, and like, or Halloween one, and you know what I mean? Like just so far away. So sometimes I get lucky and have them in the bank, but the trickier ones are the ones that are coming up like instantly. I wanted to do something along the lines with like the game stock and the stocks and everything, and I was like, there could be something funny there. Essentially to get it up today, because I don't know how long it will be funny for, but
I think you should jump on that.
I was thinking the same.
I wanted to touch on one thing that you just mentioned right now, is the writing it down part. If you have an idea for Christmas that comes to you in June, write it down. I'm the worst for this. I get a lot of ideas that I just sort of, oh, I'll get to it when I get back home, and I'll write it down, and I don't, and I miss, half of the ideas I get. If it comes up to me again in the same way, great, I get lucky, but I lose a lot of ideas because I don't write them down.
I have to. I absolutely have to
Mhm.
write them down. I feel like I lose them if I don't write them down in time. Like I could be at work in the middle of like working and like something is just funny. And by the time the end of the night comes, I'm cashing out. I'm like, oh, and I just rely on like, hopefully it comes back to me
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, I got to the point where I was writing everything down to the point where
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I think we might have lost. Oh, you're back. You're back.
oh
Okay,
yeah,
we're
sorry, there
good.
you
We're good.
go.
It says my internet connection is unstable, so that's probably why this keeps happening. We better just jump off soon. So
Yeah,
let's close this off. I've really enjoyed talking with you, Benjamin. This has been an illuminating conversation for, talking about the creative process, writing well, writing succinctly. And of course, this has application for all kinds of marketing and PR activities, whether you're writing subject lines to go to reporters, headlines, subheaders, tweets, what have you. And I can't think of a more challenging medium there's than a billboard. So hats off to you.
thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It's been fun for me as well. I was really looking forward to it.
So, Benjamin, if people wanted to see more of your work, like the billboard signs that you have, you've immortalized on Instagram and elsewhere, where would they find you and your work?
To get the pictures of the marquees and the previous work, I would go to the Marquee Boys at the Marquee Boys on Instagram. It's got a pretty good collection there, and at the Penthouse 604 also on Instagram. They're peppered throughout the regular business, but they're all there for the most part. And yeah, there's been like you mentioned before, the CBC, Georgia Strait, Daily Hive. If you just Google any of the basically anything Vancouver, Marquee, Penthouse, you'll find it. It's been the internet's been good to me over the
Perfect.
past few years.
Perfect. Well, it's really been a pleasure. Thank you to all the listeners who are either watching on YouTube or checking out the podcast. You have been listening to the Mind Meld PR vlog, and I've been talking with Benjamin Jackson. And if you like what you've been hearing, please subscribe, please like. And hey, if you're in the market for public relations services, that's what we do. So thank you very much. And we'll see you next time on the Mind Meld PR vlog.
Thank you, Jonathan.